Almost 2 decades ago, I owned a Subaru Impreza WRX. That makes me quite old. It's been almost 15 years since I drove that car and I loved it. Recently, I drove the newest WRX. Unfortunately, I can't say I was bowled over. It had a rough, fidgety ride and the clutch and gearbox didn't like each other and quite frankly, didn't like me. So when the offer came up to drive this, the WRX STI, I was conflicted. Could this car ruin my fond memories of the WRX forever?
This year, Subaru told us that the WRX still had a couple of years left of the old shape. It's been a busy few years for the company as they've built a whole new platform for Impreza and XV. So to soften that blow, the WRX and STI got a top and tail and a bit of an interior refresh to tide us over.
This new nose is a little bit less awkward and you've got all blacked out bits and badging and stuff. The scoop's a little bit smaller, which is always welcome. Back here, we've got new rear lights, new rear bumper and that wing. Being the spec.R, this wing is standard, so you're stuck with it. And it's huge, but it's so big that it actually frames your view out the rear window, so you don't have to rely on that fairly ho-hum reversing camera. The spec.R also has these bright, high-vis Brembo calipers gripping drilled discs, and up the front they are 6-pots, so they are very strong. The more modest scoop feeds this intercooler, which cools the turbo, which is strapped to the big banger 2.5 litre Boxer 4. Inside, the R in spec.R comes from these Recaro seats, which are electrically operated and heated. The rest of the interior is basically WRX Premium, which means a bigger touchscreen, 8 Harman Kardon speakers for that extra doof-doof sound, and despite this being an updated touchscreen, it still doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Starlink is alright, but seriously, CarPlay, Android, better. So it looks all grumpy and aggro and it's, it's got the wheels and the wing and everything and it's got the big engine, but after the WRX I'm still a bit worried. So the base WRX I drove was, look, it wasn't great. It had a really hard ride. It felt like the dampers were just, well, it felt like they were solid actually in the low speed sections, but once you got it moving, it was okay. And I found the gearbox and the clutch to be barely on speaking terms. I mean, they just didn't want to work together. And the clutch was all over look, I don't want to go on and on, but it wasn't great.
There are some significant changes in the STI. The steering is hydraulic rather than electric. The centre diff is driver controllable, and my advice is to leave that in auto and be done with it. But that's just me. The 6-speed manual gearbox has shorter ratios and a shorter final drive for extra punch out of the corners.
The ratio change in the gearbox is really good because you get a bit of extra punch out of the corners. It's really, I like the closer ratio. You do get 6, there's a little bit more revs when you're driving along on the freeway, but that's the price you pay. It's a noisy car. This is a noisy car. You can hear the engine, you can hear the gearbox. There's wind noise from anywhere from 70 upwards. You know what's going on in this car. You hear a lot of mechanical noise, and that again is part of the nostalgia of a WRX. You can hear what's going on. It's not silent. So you'd think with all those changes, stiffer springs, stiffer dampers, lower profile tyres on bigger wheels, you would think that this would be even worse. I certainly thought so. And you know what? I was wrong. This is so much better. Look, it's still firm. WRXs and STIs are not soft cars, but it's livable. This is actually a day-to-day option. The WRX, the standard one, was verging on unpleasant, but this is good. Like I'm happy in this. It's something different, but it's good different. It's not doing things for the sake of it. It's not super polished. It's raw. It's noisy. It's jumpy. It's fast and it's fun. It really is. Yeah. I've grown to love it over the week. I liked it when I got it, but I've grown to love it. I really do. It's not something I expected to say about it after the WRX. The WRX and the STI still have a couple of years to go before they're put on the new Impreza global platform. At the $60,000 mark, there is a lot of competition and you want something special. The STI delivers that. It's silly, it's jumpy, it's fast, and it's fun. You're not exactly buying one of these cars with your head in the first place, so if you want wings and seats, get the spec.R.